Hey everybody, welcome back. Today it's Monday, it's a brand new Q&A. We have more Red Paladin questions and discussions involving Inquisition, Divine Purpose this time. So I think it's gonna be pretty awesome. If you want to join the Q&A, I'm gonna say this every time. You just throw in the question in the comment section here. I'm gonna heart it, and on next Monday, you're gonna get your question answered. And without further ado, let's just jump right in and see the first question, which is from Gab Ruiz. Hey man, I was so hyped when you picked my question for last week. Thanks man for the answer. No problem dog. About the same shit bro, Savix's build is kinda sacrificing Divine Purpose procs for more crits and a 7% damage across the board. You still have 18 to 20% haste with Inquisition, but this time you got a bit more crits to dish out massive burst on your wings. So that's the thing. When I talked about the sweet spot for the haste percentage, 18 to 20% is without all of the buffs and procs and shit, right? So this is like standard, and with the buffs and procs, you ideally want to go past 25%. But anyways, let's carry on. The thing is, I find the DP haste a bit more inconsistent when bursting and shit, because when I pop that wings, that's gonna give you 20% more crits. Usually find my execution sentence and Wake of Ashes not critting as much as the Inquisition build with a baseline 20% crit, making that 40% when wings is popped. Okay. Is the procs really worth taking than getting a bit more crits and a 7% increase in damage? Because the mastery is still the same. The only thing that is different is the crit and your access to DP procs. Dude, I'm hyped for the next video. What's going to cover every CDs to watch out for. Please also include our window of burst every classes and specs, because I think that's the only way to play red at the moment. You gotta burst for the kill at the right time. Thanks Marceline, real love your channel. Thanks a lot man, peace out. So I did the first 3 classes on that. If you want to check the channel, you can see. I'm not gonna do like all the classes in one video, because that's gonna take a huge amount of time. But I made it a series, right? So every video, every week, we're gonna put 3 classes. So go check that shit out. But going back here, is it worth going Divine Purpose versus Inquisition? Now that's like a really hard question to answer, man. Like if you remember in the beta, I always advocated for Inquisition because it was really good and it was more consistent, be that it was 9% haste and damage all across the board. Now the thing is, I couldn't be asked to try this with at least with the crit rather than the haste, and this is because this is like something that's really fucked up about BFA right now. For me to go in and try to farm gear that has crit on it is just a huge undertaking at the moment. It's like I really miss reforging, dog. Like if we still had reforging, no problem. I would have like respec everything into crit and seen how it works. But we don't have that shit anymore right now. So all the time and effort I put into like get haste shit all across the board, you know, it works okay for me. Now, when it comes to just Inquisition, listen, I'm gonna try it out, okay? I'm gonna try it once again and see how it goes, okay? The most annoying thing about Inquisition for me was that I had another global to get that shit done, and the RNG element from the Divine Purpose could usually either result in, let's say, a bigger Templar's Verdict or a bigger heal, which was an issue at the time of doing that shit. But then again, the question on is it worth sacrificing or not, I think it really boils down to playstyle and how you feel most comfortable with. I just don't know about the stats, making crit a priority rather than haste. I mean, I would try it to see how it works, but it's like close to impossible to get the same item level, the same traits, you know, and have more crit on it rather than haste. It's really hard. But listen, I'll try Inquisition for this week and see how it goes. If it works better for me overall, I'm gonna, you know, I'll be the first one to admit it. Hey man, just go for the goddamn Inquisition. It's fine. But thank you for the question, Gab, man. Keep on coming. Hope clears the air a little bit. Okay, next one is from Sakya Hey, love your vid so much. Thanks a lot, man. I don't like Inquisition. Sometimes I go for Divine Purpose, even I don't have enough haste, because most of the time in Arena it's all about timing. That's true, especially in BFA, all about GCD. Even one GCD, the healer can get out of CC and then heal up the target. What do you think? And if there is no Inquisition anymore, what kind of spell effect would you put into the talent? Ooh, that's a really good question, dog. Well, the thing is, on that row we have like the RNG type thingy with Divine Purpose. We have the burst modifier, which would be Crusade. not that good. And we have the consistent one with Inquisition, right? So we have to replace it with something that would be a bit more consistent. I would think that, I know I'm gonna sound like a douche right now, but I would make a talent that would also affect our mobility. Because the thing is, okay, you have Inquisition, which gives you more consistency, and you know, a flat out damage burst and a haste burst, not burst, increase, okay? But if you cannot connect to your target, that shit is useless. So, I don't know, I would name it something like, I don't know, Uther's Will. And it would be like this. It would give us a small buff, let's say a 3 or 4% buff to, I don't know, strength and haste. Or strength or haste, just one of those. But it would make us immune to movement impaired effects for 10 seconds. And here's why I would think about this. Now, I talked about in the classes, the cooldowns video last week. Warriors have Warbreaker talent, right? Which for 10 seconds, they buff their damage to that target for 30%, okay? 30 fucking percent. Now that's on a 45 second cooldown. I would make a talent that would replace Inquisition, would only buff for 3 or 4% either strength or haste, but that talent for 10 seconds, if we use it, we were immune to movement impairing effects. And I'll put it on a cooldown similar to that, like 45 seconds or a minute, okay? That would be, for my language, consistent, because you get a small buff for your damage, but you are guaranteed to connect with your target. And I think that's the biggest problem. Red Paladins can do great to super good damage if they would connect to their target, right? If they cannot, you know, they're average or even below average. That's the whole deal. So that will be my shit, man. Let's make an ability, a talent on that, bro. Replace Inquisition, call it Uther's Will. Okay, for 10 seconds you're immune to movement impairing effects, and you have a small little buff for either strength or haste or whatever, crit, you're choosing, okay? How about that? Of course, it sounds more like a PvP talent, that's a general talent, but I don't know, it's just the single idea that popped out of my head, so this is what I would replace it with. And this only because warriors have this talent called Warbreaker, which on a 45 second cooldown, they have a 10 second 30% burst window, which I believe is really strong. Thanks for the question, Sake boy, keep them coming. Okay, next one is like sort of a discussion. There was a question, and then Solvex answered it, and it's fine, we're gonna tackle it all. Okay, so the question came in from, question and suggestion came from Game Lord the Vast. And he said, while watching this, I got an idea for a Paladin PvP talent. Protected Blessings. Protects all blessings, Bob, freedoms from dispels and being stolen. Mass Dispel would still work, yes, since it can dispel Bob after all. What do you think? Now, Solvex, who I know for many years, and you know, he's one of like the most prolific Red Paladins, at least in the Australia region and shit. Like really good, he knows his shit, okay? He said it wouldn't work. The issue Red has is that you have to use freedom along with Pony to make Pony useful, which is true. Making it undispellable will do zero to help Red other than take away a layer of skill. Now, Game Lord replied to this, if you think about the alternatives to improving Red mobility, making Steed clear route slows would still allow mages to route us on the spot after Steed is used, which is true. And if Blizz makes us immune to slows routes during Steed, it could be considered too overpowered. Also true, based on the opponent's skill and if they know how to counter it, as we also have Blessings of Freedom, so it's too subjective to work effectively. My suggestion would indeed remove an aspect of skill, but in the overall gameplay of Red in group content, if you only use Blessings on yourself, you aren't doing it right. Also true. Just making a point on suggesting you do this so you don't take it the wrong way. To fix mobility for Red in PvP, there would be a need for a redesign or large tweaks to the current abilities, such as making a Steed immune to slows routes and it puts freedom on a short cooldown. While this would work in duels, it would make group content quite tedious to balance, so it wouldn't work out too well. We both know Blizz is lazy, so a quick fix is now better received by them than a better fix later and for the long term. Now the thing is, I love these types of discussions as long as you know there's no flame and there's no negativity around it. And I tend to agree with both of you to a certain extent. So taking up from the beginning, okay, making a talent to make immune the blessings, it does remove a layer of skill, yes. But the thing is, it would be too overpowered. So I won't agree 100% for this talent to work. Maybe it would work if like it would be undispellable when used on yourself. Maybe that would make it would make it a bit more interesting and not that overpowered. Now, when it comes to the the skill thing about this set, I mean, I think Solvex would agree. You know, fuck, you know, making immune horses or making undispellable buffs. How about just bring good old emancipation back, man? I mean, that will like bridge out the skill level as well, because you have another ability to work on. I remember it used to cost huge amount of mana, so you had to be very wary on when to use it and how to use it, and it's also on the GCD. I think, you know, we would keep everything we have, but we would have an extra ability, like we used to have Emancipation that used to clear us from, you know, roots and slows and shit like that, but it came at a cost, huge mana cost. I mean, it came to the point that if you spam that shit, you couldn't use your other abilities because of no mana, right? So it does have like at least the same layer of skill, and I think it would work for the best of us. And we had it in MOP, we had it in Warlords, and nobody said Red Paladins were overpowered. Well, a little bit in Warlords of Drenal, I give it that, but still, right? That would, like, a good use of that would go a long way. So that's my 2 cents in it, guys. Let me know what you think. But thank you both for the ongoing conversation. I love it. Keep on coming. Alright, next question is from Goku Vegeta. What do you think? Where is Red Paladin standing between all other specs currently? All other specs? You mean like all other DPS specs or just melee specs? I'm just gonna assume it's all other DPS specs. In my opinion, it's not that bad. I mean, it's sort of like in the middle of the pack, PvP wise. I mean, if you look on arenamade.net, you're gonna see that the representation for Red Paladins, like starting from 1700 plus to like Glad and shit, they're somewhere in the middle. They're like on the 8th or 9th place out of the top 15. So they're not doing that bad, okay? It's a bit of a struggle, I think, just because we're like super dependent on the comps we play, and also on having partners understand how Paladins work. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times I've played with bugs and shit, and you know, I had people telling me, hey man, you just need to stun the healer and DPS the DPS. Okay, that's all you need to do. Come on, why don't you do that? I mean, forget about the fact that, you know, we're getting, you know, healers out of stuns and fears and shit. Forget about the fact that we, you know, freedoming other DPSs who can deal more damage than us if we would connect. Forget about, you know, LOSing, you know, getting back to your healer and shit like that. No, forget about all that. Just stun the healer and do the DPS. And there's so much more stuff, like people who don't understand the mobility issues we have. We do good damage, man, and we're sort of good on surviving as well. People don't understand that. Let's say if there's a mage comp, a hunter comp, I don't know, a shaman comp, something that can always keep you at a distance, and you finish the game, you lose, and you're like, you did shit damage, right? And if people flame you for that, you know, it's obvious that, you know, they don't understand how Red Paladin works in BFA. Legion was a totally different beast because we still had mobility issues over there, but the damage was ridiculous. Plus we had the Divine Storm, you know, throwing in the Divine Storm circles, and if we had like problems with ranging and shit, connecting, we would always use that, and it did pretty decent damage. Plus we did a lot more damage when we connected with a target. You know, Red Paladins were like gods, and on the top of that, we had super cleave damage. I mean, if we would have fought in like a turbo or something, you know, Windwalker, Walking Dead comp, because they were like really popular in Legion and still are today, at least turbo. Man, the cleave we would dish out as Red Paladins was ridiculous, okay? And that's why I think I mean, at least me, I got to 2K much easier. I mean, super fast. You know, then, I mean, it took a little bit of effort, but you know, now it's a bit more grindy. I'm not saying you cannot get past 2K and even more, but it's definitely a bit more grindy. Plus the fact that gear is super important in PvP. Azurite traits are really important. If you don't have the proper traits and the other guy has the proper traits, you know, it's gonna be a huge difference. That's the honest truth. And you know, people who play for a long time in BFA can confirm this. So my opinion is that it's in a pretty decent spot. We just have to fix a couple of things that maybe are not necessarily directly related to red paladins. Okay, maybe some classes are a bit broken, some classes do a little bit too much on that, and so I feel red paladins are pretty balanced overall. So even like the heals and shit, I don't believe the heals are that strong anymore. We got nerfed overall to the heals, we got nerfed to World of Glory, so I don't feel they do as much healing as we used to. Of course you're gonna have crits and people are gonna flame out like, oh my god, the red paladin heals are ridiculous, but I've seen it a million times where World of Glory didn't heal for shit. So again, maybe the mobility issue can be fixed, and you know, try to work around or tune a little bit other classes right now. But that's my 2 cents in it, Goku man. Thank you for the question. Keep on coming, brother. Alright, next one is from oh, good old Greg. You have run, long time no see. You goddamn right, long time no see. So Marcelian, my man, I have 32% mastery, 18% haste, 16% crit, and 2% versatility. Oh, that's gonna make a difference, that versatility though. And was talking to a raid member and suggested that versatility is one of the best enhancements, that I should raise it. I'm doing PvE for the gear, but when I go into 2s and 3s with my buddies, I found out that this build works well enough. Do I have to adjust my numbers in your opinion? By the way, World of Glory is totally stupid broken, either in Mythic Plus or Arena, so in my opinion they should nerf it like a lot. I really mean it, it's plain stupid how much it heals too. Come on, I can understand in Mythic Plus it heals a lot more, but in PvP I don't feel that way, man. I mean, they nerfed it twice. Okay, I said that in a previous question, right? They nerfed the overall killing overall, and then they also nerfed World of Glory. Just look back on the threads. What was it, like a lot, and give Divide Steed 3 to 5 seconds of Blessing of Freedom built into it. Yeah, sort of like in the same area where we discussed the previous questions. Cheers as always, you're the best. Thanks a lot, man. Peace. P.S. With Azerite and Trinket procs, I see my haste raised as far as 34-36% most of the times, and my DPS is top in both raid and arena, so I still prefer your haste build while I get the idea of Savixes. I think it depends on everyone's playstyle. There's no wrong or right in this. I agree, man. I agree. That's the whole idea. This is what I said, man. I mean, the sweet spot base stat for haste should be 18 to 20%, and you should get to above 25% with all the procs and trinkets and shit. That's what it's all about. And this is because when you're at that level of haste, you will pump in a lot more Templars verdicts and judgments and Crusader strikes and shit, and that results in higher damage, right? Now, when it comes to these stats that you have, I think you're in a pretty good spot. No problemo. Versatility, if the people who recommended you versatility are your raid guys and shit, I don't understand. I mean, versatility buffs a little bit your damage and your survivability, and I'm looking only at survivability at this point, because in raids and Mythic Plus I don't see it as much of a problem. In arenas, yes. Some people suggested versatility would be good. I've not seen yet like a decent red paladin to glads playing versatility. I've seen either they go haste mastery or mastery haste, or you know, Savix going crit mastery. So I've never seen it. I wouldn't recommend, you know, changing to versatility. It's just not my thing. But nerfing World of Glory, I mean, come on, dog. I mean, I had that shit heal for 10k. Like, if it crits, okay, you can get a good ass heal. But it's like, it's part of like our survivability. Like, remember in Legion, like we were not that, people used to say we were tanky, we were not that tanky at all, okay? I guess I get where you're coming from, because in raids and Mythic Plus, World of Glory can heal for huge amounts, but that's a totally different beast, okay? Arenas have dampening and shit, you have classes with heal reduction, and there's a lot of components over there. But thank you for coming back, Greg boy. Keep the questions rolling in, man. Okay, next one is from Ismail. Hey Marceline, like your Q&As a lot. Was relaxing here after a long day of studying with a nice pot of coffee while listening to Paladin mobility struggles. Free the horse. Awesome shit, man. My question is, how big is your Marcelian online team with all the guides, the editing and so on? And what do the rest of the guys look like? Well, it's not that big of a team, right? There's just 2 of us. It's Flame, who's mostly covering the PvE stuff, you know, PvE guides, goal making, all of that shit. Warlock, you know, he's playing on the Horde, and me. We're doing everything. Like, since we started, we revamped the channel, okay? It's not that much of a big organization, okay? Now, how does it look like? Listen, I'm gonna post a picture of him or a video of him on the next Q&A. I don't know if he's still comfortable showing his pretty little face. He used to back in the day when he streamed Heroes of the Storm on the channel and shit. Well, we'll just have to see. So if I get his permission, I'm gonna put out a nice picture of his face, okay? Thanks for the question, Ismail boy. Keep on coming. Okay, and last question for today is from Kimmel White. Do you know anyone that dives this deeply into enhancement shaman, guide, Q&A, etc.? I really enjoy your videos, not sure what it is, but I can listen to them as I play and still learn a lot. Thank you. Okay, so you're a shaman. Well, Kimmel, I know Diablo was doing, a guy called Diablo or Diablos was doing a lot of enhancement shit on YouTube. I don't know if he does that anymore, but one good source when you try to go into like more in-depth stuff for PvP when it comes to shamans and a lot of other classes is Killcap. Killcap YouTube channel right now is like pumping out super good guides, and it's definitely worth checking out. I know they did an enhancement shaman guide like back after Legion launched or somewhere close, so I don't know if the information is still that updated, but you should definitely check them out. Just type in YouTube enhancement shaman PvP guide Killcap or something like that. You're gonna get the first result, and it's pretty in-depth and pretty nice explaining. Plus they have like these videos on getting started, and then they make another video with updated shit, right? Like where they take into consideration all of the nerfs, Azerite trait changes and shit like that. So definitely check those out. Other than that, I don't know many others who would do that shit. Maybe we can get into the enhancement shaman. I know Flame, my partner, is leveling up a shaman, but I don't know if it's elemental or enhancement. We'll just have to see. But until then, check out Skillcap for their enhancement shaman guide. I'm pretty sure you're gonna, get at least some, proper information for that. But this is it. Thank you guys so much for throwing in all of the questions. I always love, having the talk, having the conversation. And as always, we take this opportunity to thank our wonderful Patreons, Hellhunter, Rampu Foreskin, Joshua Elliott, Coco Alpha, Syrup, and Heldo. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. And if you would like to support us in that way, Patreon link is in the description. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great week ahead. Peace!